isn't just another entry in the series, it's a statement. Selling over 5 million copies in less than a week after its February 27, 2026 launch, it's officially the fastest selling game in the franchise's 30-year history. Let that sink in. And that didn't happen by accident. This was the result of a decade of hard work, a total revitalization of the series, and it all comes down to one thing: Capcom's Resident Evil engine. Requiem's massive success wasn't a fluke, and the tech power in it is the biggest reason why. But now that Capcom has hit this new high, beating out modern classics like Village and the Resident Evil 4 remake, the biggest question is, what's next? Today we're going to break down how Requiem's success gives us a clear roadmap for the future of the franchise, from the heavily rumored Resident Evil 10 to the remakes we've all been waiting for. And if you've been a fan of this series from the tank controls of 96 to the chaos of Requiem, you'll want to subscribe because there has never been more an exciting time to be a Resident Evil fan. Before we look ahead, we've got to understand why Resident Evil Requiem just worked so well. This isn't just about big sales numbers, it's about a major shift in design that finally answered a question that's been floating around for over a decade. Is Resident Evil survival horror, or is it an action series? Requiem's answer is, like, no, both. And it nails them at the same time. For years, the fan base has been pretty split. You had the slow, atmospheric horror of Resident Evil 7, which felt like a throwback to the series' roots. Then you had the action-packed remakes of 2 and 4, which were amazing but definitely leaned more into combat. It felt like the series was having a bit of an identity crisis, right? And critics and fans have been pointing this out for a while. Resident Evil Requiem just tackles this problem head on, with its two protagonist campaigns splitting the story between the legendary Leon S. Kennedy and a new character, FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft. This isn't just swapping characters, it's like swapping between two different games that are woven together. When you play as Grace, the game becomes this pure, slow burn survival horror. Her parts, especially that infamous trip through the Road Hills Care Center, you know what I'm talking about, are just a masterclass in tension, okay? You have almost no resources, the atmosphere is completely suffocating, and the enemies are terrifyingly unpredictable. Made me shit my pants twice. It really feels like the next step after the Baker house from Resident Evil 7, focused on stealth, puzzles, and pure dread. The praise for these sections has been through the roof, with a lot of people calling it a perfect mix of investigation and classic horror. You switch over to Leon and the whole pace of the game flips. His sections are just pure polished action horror. It takes everything we love from the Resident Evil 4 remake, the parries, the kicks, the crowd control, and cranks it all the way up. Okay, some players haven't even said his parts feel like a full-blown mercenary mode built right into the campaign, which just shows how good the combat feels. But it's important that it never completely ditches the horror, right? The enemies are still a threat, the pressure is always on, and that feeling of just trying to survive is still there. Remember in 4? Por aquí, imbécil. Oh. The real genius of Requiem is how it pulls off both styles without feeling messy. The story, which goes back to the Raccoon City curse, and its effect on survivors like Leon ties the two gameplay styles together perfectly. It's a love letter to the entire 30-year history of the series, showing respect for both the quiet horror of the Spencer Mansion and the wild action of the European village. Just do me a favor and click that like button if you remember those horrifying Dobermen in that mansion. Just popping out of that window into the hallway. But I digress. The most mind-blowing feature, the thing that makes it all possible, is being able to switch between first-person and third-person views whenever you want. This isn't a gimmick, it's the solution to the year-long debate. You can creep through those terrifying hallways in first person to feel every jump scare, and then instantly swap to third person for Leon's big fight to get a better view of the action. It's kind of like you are horrified and then big man Leon comes and saves you. Capcom even said this feature was a key reason the game appealed to so many people, from old-school fans to total newcomers. It finally solves the perspective argument not by picking a side, but by embracing both. This kind of flexibility is something we've never seen from the series, and it's all thanks to the real start of the show, the RE engine. The RE engine is the rock on which this whole new era of Resident Evil is built. With Requiem, it's more obvious than ever that this engine is Capcom's single greatest weapon. Its official name is the Reach for the Moon engine, not Resident Evil engine, by the way. And its development started back in the mid 2010s with the goal of making game development faster while pushing graphics to the next level. We first started with Resident Evil 7 back in 2017, and it's powered every single mainline RE game, remake, and big Capcom titles since, including hits like Monster Hunter Rise and Dragon's Dogma 2. What makes the RE engine so special, especially in Requiem, is how it balances stunning, realistic graphics with amazing performance. Capcom has gotten incredibly good at using photogrammetry, which is a fancy way of saying they can scan real-world objects and people to make hyper-realistic models. In Requiem, for example, this means the visuals are just jaw-dropping. Capcom has pointed out how the engine creates photorealistic skin, teary eyes, and even the way light shines through hair. I wouldn't know. The environments are just as incredible. The rot and decay in the Rhodes Hill Care Center, the glistening gore on enemies, the way light cuts through a dusty room, it all sucks you into this world. But here's the key difference. Unlike a lot of other engines that chase realism but run poorly, the RE engine is incredibly optimized. This is why a game that looks as good as Requiem can run at a smooth 4K 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, supports 8K on Monster's PCs, and still runs great on the handheld Steam Deck. This ability to work on so many platforms is a huge reason for Requiem's insane sales numbers. It was available to almost everyone on day one without major tech problems. That's not luck, that's Capcom's smart approach to development. Beyond just looking pretty, the engine's new AI and physics are what really makes the gameplay shine. The zombies in Requiem are a massive step up. They don't just stumble at you anymore. They have procedural animations that make them feel unnervingly real and unpredictable. They trip over junk on the floor, react to the environment, and even interact with each other in pretty horrifying ways. This smarter AI creates a perfect mix of intense fear and accelerating action that Capcom was going for. And we have to talk about the sound. The RE engine's use of 3D spatial audio is a total game changer for horror. You have the right setup. The sound design is just unreal. You can hear enemies crawling in the walls around you, the squish of a footstep right behind you, or a distant groan down a dark hole. It makes just walking around a nerve-wracking experience. When you put it all together, the graphics, the solid performance, the smart AI, and the immersive audio, you get more than just a game engine. You get a horror engine. It's a system perfectly built to create tension, dread, and incredible action. Resident Evil Requiem is the ultimate proof of that. And now that this powerful tool is at its peak, Capcom has a clear path forward. With Requiem raising the bar so high, all eyes are now on the next mainline game, which everyone is already calling Resident Evil 10. Capcom is keeping quiet, of course, but the rumor mill is already spinning thanks to reliable insiders like Dusk Golem. Shout out Dusk. And if the rumors are true, Capcom is planning its biggest swing yet. The biggest and most persistent rumor is that Resident Evil 10 will be a fully open world game. People have been speculating about this for years, and some leaks even suggested that Requiem itself started out as an open world project before being rebooted. Remember those fan-made pictures? Leon in like a massive landscape? I do. While Requiem's finale gave us a little taste of a larger, more open area, Resident Evil 10 is rumored to be taking that idea and running with it. But if Requiem proved anything, is that the RE engine can create a terrifying atmosphere, even in bigger spaces. Imagine a world with the same incredible detail as the Rhodes Hill Care Center, but on a scale of a huge, isolated map. A world where you're not just scavenging in a single building, but across an entire landscape filled with unscripted, dangerous encounters. Danger at every corner. The RE engine is built for this. Its optimization means it could handle huge, seamless environments without all the loading screens, which is a must for an open world. Its advanced AI could create dynamic threats that roam the map, making any trip a potential nightmare. The physics systems could create a world that actually reacts to what you do, where your actions have real consequences. According to the leaks, Resident Evil 10 is aiming for a release sometime between 2029 and 2031, which gives the team plenty of time to build this massive immersive world and listen to its fans. It's also rumored to feature a new protagonist, finally moving on from the classic heroes to introduce a fresh face. Kind of like what Resident Evil 7 did with Ethan Winters. That would let Capcom build a brand new story from scratch that fits this new open world style. But after the huge success of Requiem, a game that masterfully balanced two different styles, Capcom has earned a lot of trust. They have the tech, they have the experience, and they have all the momentum. An open world Resident Evil powered by a mature RE engine might not just be the next step, it could be the next evolution of survival horror itself. While Resident Evil 10 is the future, Capcom knows that the franchise's past is just as valuable. The remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4 weren't just hits, they were a huge part of what brought the series back into the spotlight. And with the RE engine better than ever, it looks like a whole new wave of remakes is on the way. First up, and probably the most requested remake of all time, is Resident Evil Code Veronica. According to leakers, a Code Veronica remake is targeting a 2027 release. For years, fans have been begging for this game to get the modern treatment, myself included. It's a super important chapter in the story, covering Claire Redfield's search for Chris and the big return of Albert Wesker. Probably one of the best Resident Evil villains, but its original design with some tough puzzles and brutal difficulty has made it harder for new players to get into. A remake in the RE engine is the perfect chance to fix all of that. Imagine the gothic horror of Rockford Island and the creepy Antarctic base with the same photorealistic detail as Requiem. The engine's lighting would make those environments truly terrifying. And more importantly, the smooth gameplay from the Resident Evil 4 and 2 remakes could iron out Code Veronica's clunky combat and confusing puzzles, all without losing the challenge that made it a classic. After that, the rumor mill says a remake of Resident Evil 0 is planned for 2028. Resident Evil 0 is a bit of a divisive game, mostly because of its zapping system where you had to manage two characters at once, and the fact that it had no item boxes. An RE engine remake could completely rethink this. Maybe it could become a real co-op experience, or a smarter single-player game that uses the refined AI companion system from the Resident Evil 4 remake. And that opening sequence on the train is just begging to be remade with the immersive power of the RE engine. And then there's the big one, a full ground-up remake of the original Resident Evil, reportedly coming around 2031. It would let us explore the Spencer Mansion with an over-the-shoulder view just like the other modern remakes. This would create a seamless experience for anyone wanting to play through the modern versions of Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and 4. It would also give Capcom a chance to update the story to better match the newer games. Interestingly, it seems like Resident Evil 5 isn't on the immediate remake list. I wonder why. While it's one of the best-selling games in the series' history, its heavy focus on action and co-op plus its controversial setting make it a much harder project to modernize. It looks like Capcom is smartly focusing on the horror-first games, rebuilding the foundation of the series before trying to tackle the more action-heavy sci-fi ones. This whole remake pipeline, if the leaks hold up, is a genius strategy. It keeps the series in the spotlight, gives fans modern versions of the games they love, and lets Capcom keep polishing its tech on proven templates. Each remake builds on the last, all while generating hype for the next huge innovation, like it would be Resident Evil 10. The future of Resident Evil isn't just about games. Capcom is clearly trying to turn the brand into a true multimedia universe, using the success of games like Requiem as a launchpad, and honestly, the future here looks just as exciting. The biggest project we're hearing about is a rumored live-action film reboot, and the name attached to it should get every horror fan hyped. Zach Cregger. If you don't know, Cregger wrote and directed the 2022 horror hit Barbarian, a movie famous for its incredible suspense and shocking twists. Getting a director with his horror chops involved suggests they want to make a movie that's actually scary, instead of another over-the-top action flick. Insider reports say Cregger's film will be a total reboot, telling a new story set in Raccoon City. This is a huge deal. It could mean we finally get the faithful, terrifying Resident Evil movie we've always wanted. Something with more dread and less slow motion kicking. And we don't even mention the Netflix series. It's a global brand. The franchise as a whole has now sold over 183 million units. You heard that right, making it Capcom's most successful IP by a long shot. The success of Requiem isn't just paying for the next game, it's funding a whole ecosystem of horror entertainment. As the RE engine pushes the games to new levels, the rest of the brand is rising right along with it. We have the bold open-world ambition of Resident Evil 10 pushing the series into new territory. We have a steady pipeline of remakes like Code Veronica and the original Resident Evil 1 being reborn for a new generation, and we have an expanding universe of movies and experiences ready to bring the horror to even more people. I even forgot about the spider in Resident Evil 1, that's worse. It feels like Capcom has found the perfect formula. They figured out how to honor the series' horror roots while still pushing the boundaries of action and technology. They're making longtime fans and newcomers happy at the same time, which is something not many 30-year-old franchises can do. The RE engine is the heart of it all, a piece of tech that has made this entire creative comeback possible. The future of Resident Evil has never looked brighter or more terrifying. But that's just my take. Now I want to hear from you. What are you most excited about for the future of Resident Evil? Is it Resident Evil 1? Is it Code Veronica? Are you on board for an open world Resident Evil 10? Which remake are you dying to play the most? And do you think Zack Krieger is the right choice for a Resident Evil movie director? Let me know down in the comments, and as always, have a freakingly terrifying day.